Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Live from the Ley Line. I'm your host, Cameron Porter, and with me as always, my boy Avery. How you doing, Avery?
I think I'm the other way. You point the other way on my screen at least. Are you on the right?
It's on the right for me.
I'm just kidding. I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm
Hell
doing
yeah.
good. I'm excited today. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got something special for you. Today's our 33rd episode, and it's only right that we do a Freemason theme. And so, without further ado, I've got a very good friend of mine, Kevin Atchison, here with us. Kevin, how you doing, my friend?
Good guys, thanks for having me on the show for the 33rd episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're honored. We're honored to have you. It's exciting. So, Kevin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Kevin Atchison. Um, I live in Rifle, Colorado.
Nice.
I'm a businessman.
Yeah.
However, I'm kind of modifying my title as I go. I changed it to businessman because I hate the term entrepreneur. I think it's
Yeah.
overused and is misrepresented.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I do as an occupation. A family man. I've got two kids. I got another little one on the way.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, yeah. First kid when I was 16. She was born. Um, and she's 16 now, so another play with
Wow.
numbers there. Yep, and got my son 3. And beautiful wife, beautiful house. And that I guess that's kind of sums up who I am as a person.
Right.
Free lover, free thinker. That's what you got.
I love
Love
it.
it. Love that.
I love it a lot. So, did you always know you were a businessman? Is that something you had always aspired to be?
Yeah, man. I always joke, I learned how to do sales and business in high school, doing extracurricular high school activities. I think a lot of individuals do.
Mm-hmm.
Found a way to turn a dime into a dollar. And, obviously as I grew and my family grew, I had to find more legal, ethical ways to continue that same hustle.
I love
And
it.
but even when I was a kid, I always came up with these schemes. It's kind of an embarrassing story, but a friend of mine uh and I needed, we didn't come from the wealthiest families, but we lived in one of the wealthiest areas in Colorado. So it was we lived in a 600 square foot apartment in Aspen, Colorado.
Wow.
And my friend and I were trying to come up with an idea of like, how do we make some money? And we're like, let's just go ask people for it. So we
Yeah.
walked around the streets and we just started asking people for money and they started giving it to us. And granted, we're in like we're in the 5th or 6th grade. I'm not sure what that translates to in age exactly, but we were pretty young. And anyway, it turned out that we found out people were willing to give money. And this is the same time that Glenwood Springs was on fire. And we kind of had this moral conflict of we were like, okay, so we're actually like, this is working. And we kind of stumbled upon this unethically. What do we do with it now? And we're like, maybe we should donate this money to the fire department. So we got put in the paper and everything.
Oh,
We ended
cool.
up collecting all this money and we were able to donate it to the fire department in Glenwood Springs, and they were able to help that family. But it was funny because, it came about because we wanted to do the hustle, and it just kind of wrapped back around to like, oh, well, we could help people with that too. And
Right.
so I've always been coming up with these half-wit ideas of how to turn a dime into a dollar. And over the years, I've gotten a lot better at it and honed in my skills on it for sure.
That's
That's
awesome.
just good karma right there.
I
Absolutely.
don't know. Yeah, it didn't start out that way. That's the moral of the story, right? Like I started out doing something really shady, but I think that I have a belief that we got to do things good karmatically, and that's kind of what turned it into something more, maybe.
Yep. 100%. That's awesome, man. And sounds like you guys are in the right spot too. I hear from a lot of very successful people, if you want money, go where the money is. And
Yeah,
being in Aspen, that's kind of where the money trickles from. That's the top of the bucket and it trickles through the valley that way.
it's insane the amount of money that we see come out of that area. We do a lot of private catering
Hmm.
through a restaurant I own for the Rifle Airport, and they're fueled by planes that are diverted from the Aspen Airport. And
Wow.
some of the planes that come through this area, I mean, to think about a private jet, we did a little bit of research once. And so I think I think it's $10,000 per flight hour for someone to rent a private jet plane, right? So yeah, put that into context. If you had a flight, I think what is it, 3 or 4 hours to fly from New York to Colorado, let's say it, you're looking between a $30,000 and $40,000 bill just for your flight. I mean, and I don't know what you guys pay for plane tickets, but like, I don't pay
Not bad.
40 G's. You know what I
No,
mean?
no.
I
Like,
shop the deals.
yeah, exactly. I wait for that bargain buy.
Yeah,
Right.
100%. I don't think, and I'm talking out of my ass right now because I think my dad's bought all my plane tickets so far, but I think it's only ever like 250 max, maybe
Right.
300 is pushing the limit
And you
in
got to
country.
drive 4 hours. Well, anyway, where
Right.
I'm from, you got to drive 4 hours to
Yeah.
actually get on the plane. But it trickles into everything in that area too, right? Because if you're looking at, there's rentals. I'm a real estate broker as well, and so I have access to see what people are charging for rentals in Aspen. And guys, there are places in Aspen, Colorado that rent for $20,000-$30,000 per night,
Wow.
right? So we're talking about people's salaries,
Yeah.
an entire annual salary that
In
someone's
one night.
spending on one night. And I for a long time growing up, I had a lot of disgust in that area
Right.
with people who could do that much. And then as I've grown mentally and everything else, I kind of think about, I probably wouldn't spend $30,000 per night on something, but what do I spend $20 on now that other people would view and be like, wow, you would spend $20 on that?
Right.
Right.
And the context of it, I feel, is someone similar. If you're making, I don't know, $1 billion a year is $30,000. That's going to be the same as your $200 plane ticket,
Right.
right?
That's
Like,
just
Very
some
true.
walking around money for them.
It's very
yeah.
true. I was
And
gonna say though,
so
even if I had millions, I'm not spending that much money on
Ooh,
one
you don't
night.
know that though. Like you
Yeah.
might. What if you did,
that's true. If I
Yeah.
had some fuck you money, I might
Yeah, dude,
I might go
and
ball a little hard.
you have so much money that you could, even you're like, well, I would help my friends, like that's what I would help my
Yeah.
family. That's if I had fucking money, I'd help my family.
Right.
Well, if you had so much money, you could spend the $30,000 and help you. You could spend $30,000 for them to stay with you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's just, I don't know. I think the reality that we live in and the wealthy elite kind of live in are two. I mean, honestly, I feel they're two different realities.
100%.
100%.
The
Yeah.
kind of freedom that you get when you have that kind of money, where, because I don't know about you guys, but for sure money is like a limiting factor in a lot of things that you do lifestyle wise.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like the rich elite have that kind of limiting factor.
Right.
It's more so like, what do I want to do? What do I want? And then they just go and get it. It's not like a question of, oh, can I afford it? Is that financially viable? Yeah.
I'm gonna come in counter on your point here real quick, Cameron.
Mm-hmm.
All right, because I'm by no means the wealthy elite. Like I said, there's no ways that I can find it. But before I started any of this businessman stuff, I was a farmer, right? I worked for a little farm called Osage Gardens, and we harvested herbs, basil
Yep.
mainly.
Love
Um,
Osage. It's a good spot.
yeah, dude, it was like I think I made like $25,000 a year. My wife worked at the bank. My daughter was 6, 7, 8 at the time. Like real humble, household, everything like that. Fast forward, it's been another 8 years, 10 years. I've really worked on myself professionally and grown significantly as
Yeah.
far as, what I take home. I can promise you I was 100 times happier as a farmer making less money per year than the headaches that I deal with now. Like there's definitely some
Interesting.
advantages to it. Like there's definitely, like you said, the money isn't so much a factor anymore. I
Mm-hmm.
feel very secure financially. Um, but the amount of work that I have to put in to maintain
Right.
that money machine takes away from the things I want to do, the time I spend with my family, like I have to actually quite literally schedule out every hour of my day to ensure that, you know, everything business wise is getting taken care of, and I'm not neglecting my, you know, my family, my other obligations.
Right.
So there's some people with that I see those people that, you know, money isn't a factor for them, but are they happier? And I think some of them maybe, but I think a lot of them are stuck in that same what is it, drudgery
Yeah.
Yeah.
of like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
kind of shit, you know?
There's obviously lots, you hear it all the time. So many people who are broke are way happier than multimillionaires. However, I do also believe that it would probably be better to cry in a Ferrari than under a bridge. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally,
But
dude.
I agree with you 1000%.
What's that? There's that quote in Wolf of Wall Street. He's like, at least when I deal with my problems, it's in a $2,000 suit, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
whatever it
The
is. It's
back
like,
of a limo.
Yeah.
yeah, you know, I'm like,
Yep.
okay, I agree with you there.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, that's a great movie. Such a
Yeah.
bad example, a terrible role model, but boy, was that the coolest movie ever.
It's such a good movie. One of the
I don't know,
best.
man. It's I think so much of it is it's just relative to the life that you're living and the, you know, kind of whatever lifestyle you're making for yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
Speaking of real estate, sorry, Cam,
go ahead.
I just went into contract or under contract on a house in Montrose. Man,
Oh,
those
cool.
interest rates hurt, man. They hurt.
Yeah. Yeah,
Not
man.
fun.
That's
Yeah,
awesome
if
though.
I
Congrats,
mean,
bro.
I don't know how personal you want to get, but what are you looking at with that?
So our house is gonna be, we're gonna pay about 495 for it.
Okay,
And with an FHA and my dad, thank God, helping me with the down payment, you're still looking at a little over 20 grand to close and close to 3,000 mortgage a month.
Mhm.
$3,000 a month.
Close to it, a little bit, and like a matter of a couple $100 would make it more, it's crazy.
Yeah. No, I mean the financial world when it comes to real estate right now is really tough. And I don't mean that so much in the sense that people aren't buying houses, but I mean like a monthly payment. Like I mean, just being 100% frank, like I make very decent money and there's no way in hell I would take on a $3,000 a month payment.
Right.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
uh it wouldn't fit my financial structure.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
insane.
But that's what people are looking at right now to purchase houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you looked at the rental market too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know Montrose, but I can almost guarantee that it's non-existent, right?
Yeah. It's like 98% homeowners there or something crazy like that. Yeah.
Wow.
So like speaking of business, this is the perfect example of like businesses. So if you're looking to start a business or have a business or whatever else, the key thing that you can do is have these conversations and say, you know, Avery, what do you need? Well, dude, I need a house. Like, okay, are you going to rent somewhere? No, there's nowhere to rent. All right. Do you want to buy? Like, well, I kind of have to. There's nowhere to rent. And then
Right.
bam, just like I think that's business building in a nutshell right there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so speaking of which, I mean, like I said, I kind of hate using the word businessman. So I came up with this new pitch. Tell me what you guys think of it.
Okay.
Is so now I tell people I'm not an entrepreneur. I hate that word. I don't want to tell people I'm a businessman because they think I'm a gangster, and I'm definitely much nerdier than a gangster.
You're not part of the mob? Ah.
Not me, dude. Freemason? Yes.
Hell
Mob, not so
yeah.
much, right? But all right, so here's my new pitch to people. I'm Kevin Atchison. I solve problems.
Okay.
That's that
Amen.
it. That's it, dude. Right? Right? You got a problem? Yo, I'll solve it.
I love it. You sound like Vanilla Ice.
Right?
That's awesome. No, and you know what? It's funny because that ties right back into being a businessman because that sounds way more valuable than just saying you're a businessman. You know
Right.
what I mean? In your pitch,
Oh, hell yeah,
like
dude.
it
Well,
ties right back into it. I'm a problem solver.
right. I mean, so I met with a new bookkeeper just a couple days ago because I need some help with my books, man. I do my bookkeeping right now, and it's just another piece of my business. I won't get into that, but you know, I pitched it to this bookkeeper of you know, his charges were $300 a month, right? And my QuickBooks subscription right now is $178, and what he was proposing is that I keep $178 subscription, and then pay him $300 to do the books. You guys following me?
So
Yeah.
you're only paying another what 122 extra to have somebody else do the whole work for you.
Well, no, because I had to maintain it, right? So the total would be $478
Oh, on top
for
of
him.
it.
And I'm looking at him like $478. I could just keep my own and then not pay him the $300. I can remain doing what I'm doing, but I need more time. Time's way more valuable than money to
100%.
me, right? And so I'm thinking about it and I was like, well, do you have a system? Do you have a software that you could take on for me? And he's like, no, I don't. And so the deal I pitched to him is go find yourself a software where you could take my QuickBooks subscription away and then you charge me $300 and in turn I will pay 75% of whatever software you're purchasing is. And not only could you use me for the software, but any other client you have now, you can offer them that same software,
Oh,
right?
There you go.
So this is the
problem
deal I
solver.
strike up with the bookkeeper, right? Because now my cost just went down $178 a month. My time just went up because he's taken on my bookkeeping. And sure, I have to carry a greater charge, but what's in it for him? He now has a service he can provide for everybody else. And that's what I mean is you have a problem, I just come in, I solve it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, that's that hustle I was talking about. I get off on it, dude. I love finding these puzzles, man.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's awesome.
It's inspiring. That's very cool. That's like some John Wick shit. It's like, all right, call the problem solver.
Dude, not you guys have role models? Who's your role model?
Joe Rogan is one of my role models.
Okay. Yeah, I like
For
him.
sure.
Yeah.
Avery, what about you, buddy?
Shoot.
It could be fictional, man.
Right, yeah.
Oh, then
Obviously,
Peter
I have
Pan.
to say my dad's a big one, of course. Wildly successful, good guy. Um, one of my role models is actually a streamer. His name is
Okay.
Nick Kolchev. He's I just kind of aspire to be like him, I guess. I don't know.
Let me write that shit down. I don't know him. I gotta look him up.
Yeah. He's just a streamer. He plays video games, but he's not your typical guy that you might think of when you think of that. He's very much a advocate for health. He agrees
Mhm.
with me politically. Um, he's a family man, and I don't know, something about when I watch him, I just relate on a deeper level, you know?
Kind
Right.
of resonate with him. Sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Mine was is Winston Wolfe
yeah.
from Pulp Fiction.
Hell yeah.
I'm not
You
familiar with
know?
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Like he he's calling the wolf. He comes in, they call him up, shows up. Jules and Vincent have a dead body in the garage. Listen here, fellows. If you do exactly what I say when I say it, we're gonna get out of this mess,
I
right?
love it.
Right. And I was like, damn, dude, that guy's got it figured out. I want to be like him,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. It's important to have people that you can see how they operate in situations and how they carry themselves and live their life and then like kind of like frame how you would live your life around that because they're basically giving you like the cheat codes. They're like, all right, here's what I do and here's how I'm so
Mhm.
successful. And
Yeah.
it's not like a one size fits all for everybody, but if you do most of the things that they do in their life and you it's all about time management is what I found, especially with Joe Rogan, who I listen to. You were talking about scheduling out your day. I swear that dude schedules out every 15 minutes. Like he's
That's what I
just
have. Yeah.
so on point and
What
he
my
does
dad
it all.
does.
He wakes up, works out, family time, breakfast. He puts in time at the club that he owns. He also does stand up, does like 2 sets a night, like, and does his podcast and finds time to shoot his bow because he likes shooting bows. Like, that's just
It's
so
crazy.
inspiring. And he's found a
I
way to turn his hobbies into his lifestyle.
Yeah. My dad has his Outlook shared with me, so I can always keep tabs on him and stuff. And it's just like that, dude. It's like 10 minutes for reading,
Yeah.
exercise 15 minutes, and then obviously invoice, blah, 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 blah. Like every little thing throughout his day is segmented. It's insane.
That's awesome.
So, like, what do you guys find is your biggest time killer then?
Wasting time.
Yeah, like, but
Yeah.
Not
like,
scheduling.
right. That's everyone's time killer, but like, what are you wasting time on?
Oh, probably doom scrolling is one of the biggest ones.
Okay.
Doom
Yeah.
scrolling or like not waking up at a proper time. I'll like try and squeeze off free time at the end of the day and end up staying up way too late. and then you got to sleep in to get your proper hours, and then
Yep.
you're already cutting into your day. That's probably my biggest struggle, is just staying up too late. And then I'm
Yeah.
like, well, how would I get up at 6 in the morning? It's already 1. Like I need to sleep a little bit longer than that. I can't run on 5 hours.
Says who, man? I run on 5 hours all the time.
See, that's what Elon Musk says.
No, but that's kind of what Joe Rogan really stresses too, is the discipline in your day too, right?
Yes.
And so in turn, with everyone I've studied who's successful, they have, they schedule their time out, but they're very strict and stern upon their discipline of what they're doing too. Avery, I'm sure your dad is the same way, right?
Yeah.
And so I run out of time often, and I'm sure Joe Rogan does too, but like my kind of theory is like if I've scheduled every 15 minutes out and I wake up late, or I stay up late or whatever it is, that whatever that 15 minutes was, I put it in there because it was important, and I can't waver. I
Yeah.
can't waver on it because it became an inconvenience in my day, like if I have
Right.
practice piano for 30 minutes, like, well, it looks like I'm sacrificing sleep, or, I'm skipping my lunch or whatever I
Right.
have to do to make sure that I get that 30 minutes in. Because I view those schedules, those time blocks, I view them as higher than myself, like my future self is going to benefit of the sacrifices of my current self makes, right?
Right. Which is such a like enlightened and ascended way to think, just like being rigorous and also knowing that this is going to benefit me later on. It's like working out. It's like working
Yeah.
out sucks. Being sore
Yeah.
sucks. But then you look in the mirror and you're like, oh shit, traps are getting big. It's
Yeah, maybe feeling fresh, sure.
yes.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
biggest time waster is the fact that I'm really good at getting up and getting what I said I'm going to do done. And then I do it so fast that I just feel accomplished. But then
Mhm.
instead of utilizing all my time, I feel like I'm good for the day. So then I'll go and sit down and play video games for 6 hours. And
Right.
I've definitely tried to cut back on that. I recognized it, but that's my thing is I don't have a problem doing stuff. I get it done and then I feel accomplished. I have all this free time to maybe better myself. Sorry, dogs are barking.
You're good.
And then I just play video games.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's my thing.
Yeah.
I
I'm
mean, do
considering
you think
throwing the
that,
PlayStation away. That thing is the
like,
time suck.
is your video games fulfilling to you though?
Yeah, it depends on what game or like the circumstances. Like I don't just play casually. I have
Uh-huh.
a group of friends and we really take it serious on certain games and stuff, but it gets to a point where it's not fulfilling, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Really?
It's
Yeah.
like a
Like,
surface amount of fulfilling. It's not
Right,
like it
right.
doesn't have any sustenance to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that video games is a positive. I mean, I really don't play a lot of video games, but I think that if that is your hobby, if that's what you do, then I think when we have this conversation, we get so sucked into we have to like better ourselves all the time, that I could fill up my whole day with things that are going to make me a better businessman or father figure, whatever it is.
Right.
But I think that when we do that, a lot of times we forget to add in all the shit that makes us feel fulfilled within ourselves. So like Avery, for you, that might be, playing video games. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with working in, you know, an hour, 2 hours, even 3 hours a day of playing video games,
Yeah.
if you're getting all your other shit done. If that's what fulfills you, man, like you're with your boys online, like what's
Right.
wrong with that, dude?
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people talk down on it because that's not one of those, like, they're like, you're not going to the gym, or you're not doing like whatever they think that you're supposed to be doing. Fuck them though. you know, like, that's
Nah,
Yeah.
do
that's
work
like their
out.
opinion. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And there's something to be said about having all the boys online, a full party, and you guys are all shooting the shit, playing games, and also being tactical, like really like putting your minds together to solve a problem, you
Yeah.
know? And yeah, there's something to that. Very fulfilling.
I mean, would it be more fulfilling if you were sitting down with your boys and you were having a chess tournament?
No, it'd be way
Right.
more boring.
Like, it would be the same thing, you know what I mean? But I
Yeah.
promise you that society wise, if you and your boys were sitting down to play chess, they'd be like,
Ooh.
wow, how intellectual.
Right.
But like what you guys are doing is the same shit, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
And it's just like it's everyone else's perception of what you should be doing. And I don't think you should listen to that, man. If
yeah,
video games is what makes your heart happy, play video games, dude. Just
yeah.
don't forget about all the other shit you gotta do.
Right, right,
right.
yeah.
And man, as long as I've known Avery, this dude's been very good at video games. I remember you and the boys back in the day would go to like tournaments and shit.
Yeah, yeah,
You'd like travel to Denver and go play
yeah,
Oh,
in
one of those,
tournaments.
huh?
Like
yeah,
it
yeah.
was, they were getting competitive with it.
No, it's cool, man. If
So
it
cool.
wasn't so incredibly hard, I mean, I guess I probably have the means to really do it if I put my mind to it, but it's so incredibly hard to build an audience and get paid to play video games because that's the only real way to do it unless you're a professional.
Right.
Um, and you get paid by an organization. But the number one way to make money is to stream. And I mean, you're talking about streaming 8 hours a day for 5 years before you see a dollar. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
you got to have the means to do it.
And marketing yourself properly.
Yeah,
You know, like
yeah,
having good social media campaigns where you're actually driving traffic to your stream.
yeah.
And like there's a lot of things that go into it. And
It's
I'm
tough.
shit, we're running into the same thing with the podcast. Like it's popping a little bit. We get downloads, but it's such a slow build. You know, we've
Yeah,
been doing it for I think like close to a year now.
yeah,
And it's grown, but it's a slow growth. And I feel like it's going to be a slow growth for quite a while until we really start seeing, you know, what we had projected out of it, you know. And I'm not expecting it to be like we snap our fingers and things are popping,
right.
but
No, yeah,
it's
absolutely.
there's a lot
33
to it.
episodes, you think about it, that's 33 hours. Some of
Mm-hmm.
them are 2 hours long.
Yeah.
It's a decent grind. Yeah,
Yep.
Well, let me as a business person, let me pitch this out
yeah,
to you guys. You know, I think that there's a couple different ways to look at it. I think you guys are on the right track with your podcast because, you know, I think that the biggest thing that people run into is one, they try and do something that they love and make profit off of it. And I think that's the wrong direction, you
Right.
know. Because if you love something, you do it because you love it, regardless of whether you're making money at it or not. It's something that
100%.
fulfills your soul. It might be playing video games. And like you said, if you can find a way, if you stumble into making money playing video games, hell yeah, but you're not going to stop playing video games, right?
right, right.
And then, you know, and then there's pieces of making money in itself. And I run into this all the time too. You know, a lot of kids like want to be a tattoo artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they want to draw all day. And I like that. But I had that point of view when I was 15, 16. I tried tattooing for a little while and I found out that I love to draw, like I love to create art, but I hate making money doing it. You know what I mean? And that's the
Right.
confusion that people, I think a lot of people get into when they start a business is, you know, they're like, I love baking. I'm going to open a bakery. And then you bake every fucking day for eight
Right.
hours a day. And now you hate baking. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
yes.
And at the end of the day, though, you could have kept your 9 to 5 job and just made pies for your family on the weekend, man. You
Right.
know? And I think to keep those two lines separate is sometimes a blessing, you know? Like let your hobbies, let what fulfills your soul be your escape from all the other bullshit that you have to do, you know?
I like that.
Just a thought into it, I guess.
Yeah, I
Oh
like that a
yeah.
lot. And I never thought when we were starting the podcast, I never assumed it was going to be like we're making a bunch of money and like that's
No.
paying my bills and shit. I think the ultimate goal with the podcast is just to make it self-sufficient. I want to
Right.
like not have to put money into it anymore,
Sure.
you know?
Sure.
And I think that's the only goal that I would ever want with it is for it to sustain itself and me to just get to hop on and talk to people.
Yeah.
And
You know what,
yeah.
Cam? I think we, ever since the beginning, we did a good job with that because there was a point where it was like we were trying to do every other day
Mm-hmm.
and we were both kind of stressed out about it, kind of texting each other a little bit.
Yeah.
And we both kind of came to the consensus like we're just doing this for fun,
Mm-hmm.
you
We don't want to
know?
make it work.
I don't want to make it a, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
Right. Keep it moving.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Well, Kevin, you're very inspiring. The way you live your life and
Thank you.
your beautiful family. I love going into. So Kevin is the boss of my mother. She works at Whistle Pig, and that's the company.
Don't say it like that. No, 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 no. I'm
Yeah.
not the boss of your mother.
Yeah, you're the boss of my boss.
Your boss happens to be employed by my company, right?
Right. Yes, that's what
I
I
don't
meant
like
to
it
say.
said like that, man.
That's awesome.
No, I gotta say too, though. I mean, like, for those of you who have been blessed with meeting Cameron's mom, I don't know if we can say her name on here or not, but
Yeah, I don't have an issue with it.
yeah, I mean, Sabrina is one of the few in souls that I feel are truly enlightened in this universe. I mean, she's something else, dude.
Hmm.
She is something else in the sense that she can take she can have a conversation with someone and that person will genuinely leave that conversation better. I mean, and it's amazing what she's able to do just by wordsmithing with people. It's pretty
Love that.
100%.
remarkable. And I mean, we're just we're eternally grateful for the time she's put in with our company. I tell her all the time, I'm like, I know there's going to be one day where you leave this company, and I dread that fucking day
Yeah.
Yeah,
every day, man, because it's gonna be rough for sure.
I see
Yeah,
where you
and
get it then, Cameron.
oh yeah, dude, I had proper training from a serious guru.
Yeah, yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah, you did. Very lucky. Cool.
Um, yeah, she's amazing, and she always talks about that thing you're just talking about how she's gonna have to leave one day, and it breaks her heart, and you make it clear to her that it's gonna break your heart as well, and that
It's just
it's so cool to be able to find a community like that and people that really appreciate the service that you can provide for them and just the energy that they bring to a place. It's so important, especially in the kind of business that you run, which is it's yeah, you make coffee and you make food, but it's also like a people pleasing service.
Yeah.
Like people
right.
want to come back. And
Yeah,
having somebody like my mom in there, she's like a magnet for those people.
dude, it's great. But so I have a really firm belief because I worked with for a lot of terrible employers.
Yeah.
And I never understood why people feel that they can treat employees poorly. Like I don't get it. Or the workplace, you guys might have experienced this where you have that one guy who like comes in and like yells at people.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
have you guys ever worked with one of these people?
Oh,
And
dude, all my bosses,
I'm
all of
like,
them yell.
like, what makes you guys like these are like grown adults? Like, would you ever
Yeah.
walk up to a stranger like on the street, like minding their own bit? Maybe they're doing something stupid, but like you very rarely would walk up to a stranger and just start like going off on them, right?
Right.
I just I don't know, man. So we really try and get away from that kind of piece in the workplace,
Yeah.
being a small business, it's very hard to pay people livable wages, but we really work hard to try and I'll say manipulate financial regulations to enhance our employees' pay as much as possible.
Yes.
Obviously we have to work within the government's kind of box, but there's definitely tricks that some of the wealthier individuals in this country leverage that, we have the ability to leverage as well.
Right.
And so, but just creating a place that people actually want to come to work is so important for me because I've worked in so many places where it's just, dude, it's just miserable, and
Yeah.
so being a boss of a boss, as you put it, like I think that as an owner, I have an obligation to our employees to ensure that they're being fulfilled in their day-to-day lives. And in turn, they have an obligation to my customers to make sure my customers are being fulfilled in their day-to-day lives.
Right.
And I think it's that same, like, if I can treat my people well, my people will treat my customers well. And that's,
100%.
it's not a hard concept when you say it out loud, but like you said, how many bosses fucking yell at their employees? It just blows my mind, dude.
The majority, I would say.
The majority, all of my bosses did. I think it's
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah.
I just can't stop thinking about the guy from the show Bar Rescue. He's in a lot of other stuff too. I can't think of his name, but so funny. If you guys haven't seen any of those clips on YouTube, he'll just send undercover people into bars that he's been hired to rescue. And it just reminds me because he'll walk in after his decoy has been treated poorly, and he'll say, "Everybody in here, this guy in the kitchen is fucking rubbing his balls on your pizza." Like he's nuts, bro. It's awesome.
Oh, dude.
Oh,
Well, I think that's Bar Rescue is a great example. So I think the biggest problem that business owners have in running a business is they try and run the business. So I'm sure you guys are familiar with Robert Kiyosaki,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yep.
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yep.
okay. Yes.
And so he wrote a book called Cash Flow Quadrant, in which case he's talking about the different positions in which you can be employed. There's employee, you work for somebody; self-employed, you work for yourself, but you're also you do everything. You
Yeah.
have owner operator, in which case you're the owner and you're also working in the business. And then you have business owner and investor. And the key is to try and stay in that business owner investor kind of piece. And the reason why, I'll use it for an example, is as a business owner, you carry debt and you carry financial liability. Like that's your job, right? Is to make sure
Mhm.
your employees have a paycheck. And if anything goes wrong, it's your responsibility to come up with that cash to make sure that those employees are there, right? Well, as an operator, you still have to carry that responsibility. But when your fridge comes out, like put yourself emotionally in that spot. Like you're carrying debt, you're carrying the weight of this business on your personal bank account. You walk in and you found out you just lost $2,000 worth of food and you got to buy a $6,000 fucking fridge.
Right.
Like you're going to blow your top. And I don't care who it is, the person who shows up late for their shift, 10 minutes late that day, you're going to flip out on them because
Hmm.
we're emotional creatures, right?
Right.
And so I think a really key part is when you're a owner investor opposed to an owner operator. When my fridge goes out and I find out about it, and it is a cost to me, I got to buy $2,000 worth of food, a $6,000 worth fridge. That sucks for me, man. I'm not happy at all. But I'm also not working in the restaurant. So when that guy comes in 10 minutes late, it's my manager's job to
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 handle it.
to deal with that situation. It's not my job.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it creates that line and that barrier of I have a job to make sure my employees receive a paycheck, my doors stay open, the lights stay on. It's my crew's job to make sure that the customers are satisfied, that the food orders are getting put in, and that everyone's happy on kind of on that piece of things. And I think if more people looked at their businesses like that, I think we could really avoid a lot of bosses fucking yelling at their employees.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to your point, a lot of the bosses that would yell are the ones that like, because I've worked in a lot of kitchens and restaurants,
Mhm.
and the owner's always cooking. They're
Yeah.
always like the head chef, and they're always like kind of running the show in the kitchen as well, and making sure all the pieces are running smooth, as well as taking on all the financial liability. And I think that's a great point, that it might not even be you that's causing them all this stress, but that stress gets put onto you
Right.
because you're there. You're
Because
a
you're there.
target.
Yep. Yeah. And people get this weird like thought that they can have rule over other people, which is just mind boggling to
Mm-hmm.
me.
Yeah.
But I've seen it a lot where, business owners think that they like own these people. They're like, you're 10 minutes late today. Where were you? Like, are you my mother?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
like
I
what?
was running late.
Like
Sorry.
I was running late. I'm here now. Do you want me to work or not?
Yes.
And
Exactly.
I think there's a reason that they have that rule, right? Because if somebody's showing up late consistently, your machine starts to not run the way that it should.
Right.
Um, However, I think there's another piece of it too, whereas like everyone has problems. Your kid was sick that morning. It was snowing that day. I don't know what it is. We're just humans. And we
Maybe
all
you
show
were
up
maybe you were running out the door and you realized your second morning poop was coming and you had to run back in.
maybe that's what it is, dude.
Yeah.
Your alarm didn't go off. You had to eat breakfast. Like, as long as you're making a genuine effort every day, I think that shines through.
100%.
I've always thought, especially living in the valley all my whole life at least, like there's got to be just like an unspoken agreement where like when it's heavy snow and you got to get from Rifle to Glenwood, there's got to be like
A
like an
reason for it,
easement
right?
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
like that snow
100%.
traffic, people crashing every day. There's got to be something,
Yes.
you
Yep.
know?
Would you like me to show up alive or dead? I had to take an extra 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's cool to hear from your perspective, like knowing that people are going to have these kind of things come up and giving them the space to be human rather than expecting them to be like a robot on this regimented schedule that you create for them.
Yeah.
And not saying that you should have a pass to be late. Be on time to work. My policy is 10 minutes early is still late. I try to be there on time and with enough time to like settle in, get some coffee, look at the fucking sunrise for a minute, and then it's work time.
Agreed. Yeah. But not everyone has
Right.
that same discipline or thought process. And it comes back to that original conversation, man. It doesn't mean that they're wrong,
No.
it means that they operate differently. And I think we're all beautiful in our own sense. And some people I work with are amazing at their job, amazing at what they do and how they talk to people. They're fucking late all the time.
Yeah.
And like for me though, I think that you have flaws with people, you have benefits with people, and someone who is going to show up and while they're there, they kick ass at their job, but they're late 10 minutes every other day. Let them be late, man. While
Right.
they're there, they kick ass, dude.
Exactly.
And, I think that micromanaging piece, that again, that ownership, people feel they have ownership over their employees, is just so toxic to any workplace. And I think it's a cultural thing, and I think it needs to be destroyed. And my hope is I have a lot of individuals who work for me in various different companies and positions, and my just hope is that if I can treat them well, one day either they're going to start a business of their own and they're going to know how to treat their people,
Right.
or they're going to go and they're going to move on to a different job, and they're when their boss yells at them, they're going to be like, you can't talk to me like that.
Yeah.
You
You don't get to
like,
talk to me like that.
yeah, I have a girl who's been working for us. I think she just had her 19th birthday. I think she started working for us when she was 16 though, so she has no other experience at any other job. And I have so much faith and love that I know one day she's going to leave, because everyone inevitably is going to.
Right.
And that day when she leaves, she's going to go to another job and know how her employer should be treating. She's going to have a gauge, right?
Yes. And a
And be like,
standard of how she should be treated.
I feel like Kevin never used to do this to me, and be like, yeah, it's because it's wrong,
Yeah.
So,
I love that. You're giving
like in
people
a
the right tools.
Oh yeah.
it's like an abusive relationship. You know what I mean? Unless you've had a good one, you don't know what a bad one is. So
Right.
yeah.
Right. And to your point, there's so many people who are always in these abusive relationships with their workplace. And so they just assume that that's how you're treated at work. I felt
Right.
like I think that's how I thought about work for a really long time. And
Mhm.
with me and my mom talking about the job that she has under you, like she loves that job so much, and it's because of the way she's treated, and because of the value that she feels from her employers, versus other people don't have that same kind of thing. Like,
Right.
I'm not going to name any names, but like her last 3 or 4 bosses, all of them have been that owner operator type, and they are way too micromanaging, and they think of you like a slave worker, and they've got
Mhm.
the whip, and they're whipping you every day when things aren't going exactly as they need to.
And it just doesn't work, man. It's never
Yeah.
worked. And
Yeah.
the most powerful people were leaders, not disciplinarians. And
100%. 100%.
Heck
I
yeah.
love that. Man, that's very cool. Well, hey, I would be remiss if we didn't talk about the Freemasons just a little bit.
hey,
I
what you
love this.
got?
I love this business talk, and you've got my fucking gears turning right now. There's a little fire under my ass right here.
I
Yeah.
love it, dude. I'm always down to talk about business for
Yes,
hours too.
I
Yeah.
But
love it.
what do you want to know about the Freemasons?
So, first of all, I wanted to ask you, how did you get into the Freemasons? What was the kind of path that led you there?
I really love Freemasonry in the sense that I think it is a well, so let me start with this. One of the tenets of being a Freemason is you have to believe in a higher power, right?
Yep.
And so it doesn't matter necessarily what the higher power is, but you do have to believe in a higher power. And so I think one of the pieces of Freemasonry is I think that my higher power definitely led me to Freemasonry in itself. Um, Freemasons don't recruit anyone.
Right.
So they're not going out. We're not like, hey, come join with us, although if someone's interested, of course, we always want to share the light,
Right.
but so I'd always kind of been interested in Freemasonry just because of the lure to it, It's like
Yeah.
It's
Mystery.
weird. It's kind of a
Yeah.
cult. Like, what are they talking about in there? So I've always kind of been interested in it. I met a really interesting man. His name was Michael Mole. He was a Native American from Oklahoma, and he lived here in Rifle. And I just thought he was an interesting fellow, very deep thinker, stuff like that. And then I found out he was a Freemason. He invited me to, just come have dinner, normally how it is. And because I'd always kind of been interested, I was like, yeah, I'll do it, and anyway, never did until Michael ended up moving away. He was moving out of the area. And I asked him, I was helping him with some stuff, and I asked him, hey, is there anything else that you need from me? And he's like, Kevin, I need you to go. I need you to go look into Freemasonry. He's like, you need to go. I've talked to you enough. You need to go look into it. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay. So anyway, I went down there and I talked to those guys a little bit. They got pamphlets and stuff. I really hate their pamphlets, but
They're kind of cheesy.
they're super. Oh, I gave some to you, didn't I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have some
I mean,
pamphlets.
dude, I really don't like them, but I think they were written like in the 80s or something like that.
Right.
Times were cheesy. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, the more I looked into it, the more I was kind of attracted to it. And the thing that about Freemasonry is, you have different degrees of work that you do. And so the more you get into Freemasonry, you always have the option to not know more. You know what I mean? And what
Right.
I mean by that is, as you're going through the degree work, you always have the opportunity to be like, you know what, I don't want to know more. I can leave.
Hmm.
Um, so I'll say this. What got me into Freemasonry was walking through the door and meeting other Freemasons. What kept me in Freemasonry is what I learned through my degree work into becoming a master mason.
Right. That's very cool.
Cool, yeah.
And
I
to you,
just want to say
oh, go
real
ahead.
quick that we just want to make it known that me and Cameron do not believe that the second you walk through the door and become a Mason, you're doing rituals and trying to run the world. We know that's not how it works. We
Right.
just like to poke at conspiracies a little bit.
Yes.
Oh, no, dude. I mean, I haven't looked into all the Freemason conspiracies, but I know there's a lot out there.
Yeah.
And I'd like to publicly throw this out there since you gave me a voice on your podcast.
Yeah.
Everyone says that Freemasons rule the world and like the finances, but you guys, my lodge was built in 1908, and the last two lodges we had it was so cold in the lodge room because we can't afford to fix our furnace that you could literally see your breath. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, so when I hear people say like Freemasons are collecting all the world's money and they're gonna do something, I'm like, if they are, man, I promise you it's not getting to my lodge
Yeah, we're
because
not getting
we're
a piece of
cold,
that.
dude. Like we're
Uh,
doing the work. So
right.
yeah.
Right. That's very cool. And you
Very
made the
cool.
point about like what initially got you into it was just going in and meeting the Masons and the members. And I remember my first time into the Rifle Lodge, we like were playing pool down
Yeah.
there in the main room with the Grand Master, and like that was just it was such a cool hang. Like it was a fun
Yeah.
time. Like I I ran and told everybody, I was like, shit, I might be a Mason. I don't know.
Well, it's a fraternity, and a lot of people don't like that term because it is a men only fraternity,
Right.
right? And a lot of people don't. Of course, we all support women's rights. All the Masons I know support women's rights, but I do think that men especially have a standard that we're kind of expected to uphold of being strong and manly and not showing emotion and not having opinions or not being able to voice our opinions on certain matters. And it's like I feel that the feminine body of our society has much more opportunity to speak freely in that sense.
Right.
um, and so being within the lodge with my brothers, I mean, I have the ability to, learn and grow and express myself emotionally, have support by other masculine bodies of our society to say, like, this is what, this is what it is to be a man. This is what it is to be honorable and upright and carry
Right.
yourself with integrity, And that's the piece of Freemasonry I think people have trouble grasping is it's a fraternity designed to take good men and make them better. And the
Right.
way we make them better is enforcing morals and values to ensure that you're an upright, honorable member of of this coexistence, of this brotherhood,
Right.
the brotherhood of man.
I love that.
Very cool. Very cool.
I love that a lot. So you said you're a master mason at this point. That's the third degree, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have the first degree is known as an entered apprentice. And so that's kind of when you go, you like get entered as an
Mm-hmm.
apprentice, right? And then so each degree you kind of work up and learn different teachings. And then once you're a master mason, a third degree mason, you're considered to be on the level with all master masons. So, a lot of people say we're on the 33rd episode,
Right.
right? And we've all heard of the 33rd mason, right?
Yeah.
So anything past that third degree is additional degree work that you do as a master mason to further yourself in the craft of masonry, right? And so there's different directions that you can take in the teachings and the learnings of masonry. I've heard that the Shriners, if you know of the Shriners hospitals or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that, they are a dying sector of masonry. I suspect because people don't like clowns as much anymore.
Right.
But I'm looking closer into being a Shriner because of the good that the Shriners do
Mm-hmm.
through their work for, I mean, quite honestly, for the world. And where was I going with this? So, yeah, every degree work you make after being a third degree master mason is just to advance yourself in the craft. However, in masonry, a 33rd degree mason and a third degree mason are on the level. We're considered to be the same. We all have the basic teachings of masonry.
Right.
Okay. I didn't know that.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So I mean, you have like the Knights Templar, like all that cool stuff. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Um, but masonry itself is, it's a system of teachings and rituals. We do rituals. They're nothing weird. We leave our goats at home, I promise.
Yeah.
But it's teachings and rituals to make sure that our members are upright, standing good members of society and representations of ourselves as.
Oh, you froze up just a bit.
Little lag, little lag. Technical difficulty.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. We're experiencing a little technical difficulties.
Wonder if his phone died.
Oh, maybe. Maybe. Well, in the meantime, while we're waiting for him to get back, I want to talk about the Shriners for a second.
Yeah.
Because what's interesting about the Shriners, Avery, do you remember the Strawberry Days parades?
Yeah.
You remember those dudes they like had little clown outfits and it
Yeah.
was like weird hats and they drive around in the tiny cars?
In the tiny car, yeah.
Those are the Shriners.
Okay.
And I just thought that was
Interesting.
very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
All right. Get him right back in here.
Ladies and gentlemen, stand by. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And I love the terminology on the level.
Yeah.
You hear that a lot when in like conversations with Freemasons. Do you remember? I think it was the Breakfast Club when Ye was going off, being all like he was just talking crazy.
Yeah.
And then the dude was like, "Hey, you're not on your level, bro."
Yeah.
And he was like basically checking him, like, "Hey, stop."
Yeah.
I thought
Oh,
that was
yeah.
very cool. Oh, bummer. I hope he's all right. Let me shoot him a text really quick.
Yeah. I'm not sure if he'll be able to just rejoin or if you'll have to re-invite him.
The Masons cut our feed. He was exposing too many secrets.
Dude, for real. Nah, yeah. It would definitely be intriguing to just like any outsider, like you pretty much go and join the fucking Justice League, you know?
Yeah.
Go and help people.
Right. And it sounds like it's all for just the betterment of yourself and the betterment of your community.
Yeah.
And those are the things that I really like about it.
Yeah.
Oh, he had a power outage and his internet shut off.
Gotcha. Then, you reach that certain degree where you got to pledge your servitude and allegiance to Satan.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, Kevin. If you
You
end up listening to
you
this,
fucking goof. He's
I'm not
going
kidding,
to.
but well, if it doesn't pop back up, this was awesome.
Yes.
And tell him that I was very pleasantly surprised with this conversation. I love when you don't know what you're gonna get, and then you get a guy like him. It's really
Dude,
fun.
He's awesome.
Really fun.
He's such a cool guy, and he's so
Yeah.
inspiring the way he lives his life,
Yeah.
and just how business oriented, but also
Yeah.
like the balance between business and family and like
Yeah.
mental health and all of it. It's all in balance
Yeah.
on the level, if you will,
Yeah.
and I love it. Nice. He's back.
Cool.
I love it. Awesome.
Howdy.
Welcome
Sorry
back.
about that, guys.
No,
Yeah,
don't
we
be
had a-
sorry. You were
We kind
exposing
of
too
got a
many
storm
secrets.
over here. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
The Masons cut our
Oh,
feed.
That is awesome.
Um, well, I kind of mentioned before we came on that there was a open lodge. We just had our annual elections in an
Yeah.
open lodge ceremony this last bit. And so I have something from my clear text that I think the biggest piece of Freemasonry people are scared of is the secret. Why are you, if it's all good, why do you guys have secrets, right?
Right.
And if you're cool with it, I wanted to read from my clear text. This is what is actually said in the installation open lodge ceremony, and I think it really hits the core of why Freemasonry is kept secrets in our teachings. Would you guys like to hear it?
Very much
Please.
so.
I would love that.
So the leading objects of our institution are to inculcate sound morality. And so we're talking about the Holy Bible, the square, the compass, and the candles, the altar, how we place our ceremony. That's the objects of our institution. Are there to make sound morality, to make men honest and upright, true to their God and faithful to their country, and to unite them by the strong bonds of charity, friendship, and brotherly love. Great care, therefore, should be taken in the admission of members, lest by the introduction of bad material to the institution, it should be corrupted. It should be constantly borne in mind that the respectability and usefulness of a lodge do not consist in the number, but in the character of its members. It is better that no workman be added to the roll than ever one unworthy foot allowed to cross the threshold of the lodge. The uninitiated judge Masonry by the conduct of its individual members. You should be as careful of the reputation of your lodge as that of your family, and as you would admit none to the society of the latter, whose society is bad, so should you carefully exclude such from the former.
Wow.
So, I know I'm just throwing stuff out there, but
No, I get it.
yeah, if we break that down, right? And the way I like to put it is, if something is beautiful and sacred, you guard it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you just give access, it has the ability to be corrupted and bastardized by people who don't align with your same thoughts or beliefs, right? And so that's what the secrets of Freemasonry come from. And anyone out there who's looking to be a Freemason or look more into Freemasonry, I can tell you, again, I'm a master Mason. There's stuff that is going to have you nervous and guessing while you're going through it,
Right.
but it's nothing that's harmful. It's nothing that's unsafe. It's nothing that is going to, make you a devil worshiper unless you're already a devil worshiper.
Right.
Because in Freemasonry, you're allowed to have whatever higher power you choose, and we don't talk about politics in Freemasonry. We don't talk about religion within our lodge. We're there to help each other grow as men and be upright moral characters. I mean, that's really all it is.
Right. That's amazing. That's interesting. I don't know if you can tell this, but are there any like Satan worshipers or devil worshipers in your lodge, or that's probably something you wouldn't even find out about somebody?
I mean, it depends on who you ask. I'm sure you'd find out about it. So it depends on who thinks what is Satanist,
Right.
I myself, I myself align with pagan beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
So my higher powers are, the Mother Sky and Father Earth. So, if you went to certain, I'll just say, if you went to certain Christians, they may say that I am a Satan worshiper, which, in my mind, you have to believe in Satan to be a Satan worshiper, right? So, I mean, I would make the argument that I'm not, but they may call me that, I do know though that the Catholic Church has, what is that? Where they X out a certain thing, right? So they said if you're part of the Catholic Church, you cannot be a Freemason, and they've launched a campaign against Freemasonry, saying you can't be a Freemason because Freemasons are devil worshippers. I personally think they did it because we're free thinkers, right? We have a society outside of their commands that we say we're doing this or that, and if it doesn't align with the church beliefs, then it's shunned.
Yes. Free thinkers are the biggest danger to Catholicism, I think.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and we look at why a lot of people say that, like, oh well, if there isn't more going on, then why are so many successful people, or why were so many of the country's founders Freemasons? And that's the other one that I just find totally comical, dude. Because if you have a group of men who are constantly trying to better themselves, become morally just in their actions, and help one another and grow and become better like men, like, guys, of course they're going to be successful. Right. I'm like, that's not a mystery. Like, of course they're going to be better. They're working at it constantly, And so maybe they're not successful because they're Freemasons. Maybe they're Freemasons, and that's what makes them successful. Right. I don't know.
Right. And I think a lot of the people that would have that draw those connections, like, oh, all the Freemason founding fathers, they think they're in league with some dark force that essentially gave them the power to gave them the ritualistic power to start a country like that and have it be so successful. And
I think absolutely. Yeah. I mean, knowing the rituals of Freemason, we always talk about the dollar bill, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that always comes up with Freemasonry. A lot of the symbols on our American currency are Masonic symbols, and as a Freemason, I can look at those symbols and I know what they mean. I've been through the ritual,
Mm-hmm.
And of course I can't share that. However, what I can say is that the meaning behind them are pure, in the sense that if you know the secrets and you look at those symbols, it gives you honor and morality and, a sense of upright and justice. And so the people who are designing those dollar bills, of course they're going to put those fucking symbols on the dollar bill, dude.
Right.
That's what they want their money to represent, And so it's not that the Freemasons are controlling that money, but it is when they're generating those images, they're saying, I know what this means, and I'm going to use that image so that when people know these teachings, when they understand these symbols, they can look at those and say, this is what that means, you know?
Right.
And it's super interesting stuff. I mean, we're talking, you know, that Da Vinci Code kind of level of learning in Freemasonry. And if you like solving puzzles, man, it's a fun one for sure.
Yes. Yes. I would say, like, in the conspiracy realm that we've dived into, one of the most interesting parts of it is all the symbolism that you find and just the different meanings of things. Like, you know, it's hard to go to like a government building nowadays and not notice all the different symbolism they have all over the place. And
Right.
and not that that's a bad thing. It's just cool to see, like, wow, like I've missed this. And without the teachings, it goes right over your head, and it's just like, oh, there's a pyramid, there's an eye at the top of the pyramid. But then, you know, you understand the symbolism, or you go through the ritual, and it gives you this deeper understanding of what that symbol means and why it's used. And it kind of changes the way you look at things.
Exactly. And so when we look at, you know, Freemasonry dates back to the time of King Solomon, the construction of King Solomon's temple, right?
Mm-hmm.
And during this time, we're talking about, you know, when you're trading throughout the world, your language isn't the same, your writing isn't the same, and we're talking about people who ventured thousands of miles away from home to make trades with other individuals, right?
Yep.
And without knowing without having a translator, knowing that person's language or anything like that, how can we communicate with one another?
Yeah.
And we can do that through symbolism, right?
Yeah.
Just like when you're talking about walking into the bank and you see certain things or certain symbols, you might not know what a column symbol is the same as I know what a column symbol is, but you can look at that column and know that columns are used in places of authority and, you know, upright morality, or, you know, places where people gather to, you know, exchange ideas or currencies, right? And so when you look at the major, you know, economic powers of the world, or the temples that have been built in the world, what do they have around all of those temples? They have columns, right?
Yeah.
People from different areas can visit those places and say, I don't know what that word on the side of the building says, but I know this is a column, so I bet it's the bank.
Right.
Right? Like,
Right. And same with the
I
cross
know.
symbol. You can go anywhere in the world and you might not know what that pointy building is, but it's got a cross at the top, so you know that's where they go and worship.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know?
And I know who they worship, right?
Right.
And that may mean I want to go there, it might mean I want to stay away from there, you
Right.
know? But the symbol is what tells you what it is. And so all of Masonic teachings, you know, a lot of it is written you know, in Old English. So a lot of it's kind of hard to decipher.
Similar to the Bible, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's all word of mouth teaching. So you have to know a Mason to teach you the Masons of the next, right? But eventually, after you become a Master Mason, you receive a clear text, and you can dive into it a little bit deeper. But you know, it's all taught in symbolism for that exact purpose. So that way, I heard one Masonic lecture, you know, and they spoke about the reason that we use symbolism is so that one day, if all society were to collapse, if everything that we know, even as Americans, were to be destroyed, we can carry on our Masonic traditions through the symbolism that was used, right? And I think it's a really cool way to look at it like that.
Well, that's exactly what happened. No?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why we know all we do about the Egyptians, is because of the
Exactly.
pictures that they etched.
Right.
I'm sure they had a language, spoken language, and I'm sure they had writing, but it's all the pictorials and the hieroglyphs that really tell the story and have carried through the ages.
Very cool.
Did we lose them again?
Oh,
Boy, the Masons are.
I don't know if I'm still on there or not.
Perfect. Yep.
you're here.
Back.
You're
You're back. We're
Too much Freemasonry
I was
talk,
gonna
man.
say we're delving too deep.
They're like, we're digging, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. I'm considering it quite seriously. I think I want to try and join the lodge here in the Springs.
Yeah.
I don't really know how I would go about it. Do I just walk in there?
So you need to know a fellow Freemason for a period of I think it depends on the lodge. Our lodge is 6 months. A lot of lodges are a year.
Okay.
Some lodges like a Colorado Springs lodge may take a vouch. Like, so you could come to me and be like, well, I know Kevin Atchison of Rifle Lodge 129, and he's willing to speak to my moral character. And
Right.
they may allow me to sign a petition. A lot of lodges, you need to know a member of that specific lodge.
Right.
So there's a piece, but I'm looking to move to the Manitou Springs area here in August of 2026.
Awesome.
And Manitou does not have a lodge of their own, so I will most likely become a member of the Colorado Springs Lodge as well.
Yeah.
Not that I think you should wait 2 years if you're into it, but that's kind of the process that goes along. And you just have to know a Master Mason. If you don't know a Master Mason, they have to get to know you for a certain period of time. After that, what happens is they do an investigation. So we actually do it's some old school sleuthing. We ask around, who's Cameron? What's he about? Is he trying to, is he a good moral character? Again, we don't want to give access to anyone who isn't, worthy of our teachings and worthy to be a brother Mason,
Right. Which
we
makes
do
sense.
we do our investigation. We make sure that you're a good fit for Masonry in itself. And then after that, you come in as that entered apprentice step. And that's when the ceremonies kind of start beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, that's the wild ride.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's when stuff starts getting really, really weird, really quick. So
yes, and very interesting. I just know with the research I've done on my own and just trying to delve into, and not like specifically Masonry, but just symbolism as a whole, and just trying to understand why different symbols are used, and what these different like things like an owl, what that represents, and what kind of deity that's representing, and just all these different things. And then you start to learn more about it, and then you see it everywhere, and it broadens your scope of things. And
right.
I feel like Masonry is like the fast pass to something like that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that really caught me with Masonry and symbolism, and something that I learned a lot with the brothers in my lodge, is that it's taught through symbolism. And the beautiful thing about symbolism is it's not the same as literature, in the sense that literature can say, here's this object and it means X, Y, and Z. But when you're taught through symbolism, it just says, here's this object, and it's in relation to whatever the story is.
Right.
And then you have the ability to create what that meaning of that object is to yourself.
Yes.
And I think the reason that they teach Masonry in the form of symbolism is because there's no specific teaching that every single person should follow. We're free Masons, we're free thinkers, right?
Yeah.
And so my symbol and what I see and what I know it to be may have a different meaning to my soul and my path than my brother Mason.
Right. Yeah, and it's all about your own discernment and kind of deciding what it means to you, and how you can build your bigger picture the easiest way. Because when somebody, and I've noticed this with religion, specifically going to church, they will tell you what it means. Here's what it says, here's what it means. And they don't leave you much room for your own discernment. And in a lot of cases, they kind of push back against your own interpretations. They're like, no, that's not what it means.
Not what it means. Right.
Yes.
Yep.
And I think that's very cool.
It's problematic. I mean, it's really one of the issues that I have with organized religion, is that it doesn't allow for free thought a lot of the times. I think it was designed to have free thought, but I think when you put a man in the shoes of a god, he's going to tell you what to think and not how to think. Right. And I think that's really problematic to society. And I'll say, I think one of the reasons that Freemasonry was formed and founded was to ensure that people had the ability to think for themselves, even in sight of oppression.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so interesting. Avery, do you run into that a lot? Because I know you you and your family are Christian and
Yeah, like I've always said, I do not support church. I don't like the idea of church. I think if you like it, that's fine, but I think it's kind of a front and people become just obsessed with the idea of like, if you're not going to church and doing your deeds, you're not a good Christian. I do not believe that at all. I haven't been to church in I don't know how long. And I love the idea of being a free thinking Christian because that's exactly what I am. You
right.
know, I have
Right.
my own way of looking at it, and I don't take it nearly as deep as they do in the sense of like, trying to be a good person and all that stuff. Um, I just based upon what I believe personally is I just believe that Jesus Christ died for my sins, and I do think he's the one true God, and that's all there is to it for me.
Right.
I don't judge people and think that they're not proper Christians or anything like that.
Well, I
So,
don't think any of us are. The way that it's set up, you're kind of fucked from the beginning, which is
yeah,
why Jesus was the ultimate sacrifice for your sins.
right.
It's because
So
Mhm.
I'm right there
inevitably we're
with you.
sinners.
I'm right there with you. I'm not a fan of church. I never got good vibes from church. The community's okay, I guess, but like I said, it just becomes a judging fest.
Right.
And yeah,
It
so
can,
that's my
yeah.
thoughts. Yeah.
Judge not lest ye be judged.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, over the last, I'd say over the last couple years, I've met some really great Christians, and the reason that I consider them great Christians is because they live that life philosophy. They do go to church. I mean, one of the individuals I mentioned, she is at church every Sunday. Her husband is a pastor. She's, but as far as speaking the truth to God, I mean, you can see that she's confident, just as you're saying, like, I believe in Jesus. I believe I'm going to heaven. I believe he's the true God. And I love you and I hope to see you there. But this is you have to create that peace with your God. And it's none of my business. I'm not going to love you any less,
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I'm like, that to me is what Christianity is supposed to be. That's what the teaching I've always understood it as. But I think so many people are turned away from the Christian religion simply for exactly what you're saying of like, wait, so if I jerk off, I'm going to hell?
Right.
I'm like, what? Like, no, I'm not,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like homeboy hung for 3 days. I'm pretty sure he can look away from me yanking my noodle.
Right, right. Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. And you're exactly right. And just a side note, that's another misconception. It's like that's Old Testament, everybody. Old
Right.
Testament. What's the point
Yeah,
of Jesus, right?
right.
Come
Yeah.
on now. It's funny.
and people like to forget that some of his best friends were like prostitutes and
Oh yeah.
like
Ah, dude.
the salt of the earth sinners. You
Yep.
know,
And what
it's
did he do though? What did he do? He loved them,
Yep.
unconditionally.
Yep. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
And
think that's the main goal with Christianity is trying to live like Christ and
Right.
like just embody all the best things about what he had to bring to this earth.
Yeah.
Like one of my coolest things that I've heard is that like that Jesus is just like a magician guru, like this dude who is just so enlightened and so powerful and basically just came back to share this love. He like figured it out early and was like, "Oh shit, I need to share this with the whole world.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to live like this and not in like a live like this or you're
or
going to
yeah.
hell or it's like this is just how I'm going to live. I encourage you to live the same way."
Yeah.
Well, I had a kind of a look into, a thought with the Bible once, and I always think about it kind of like as an instruction manual,
Yeah.
right? And it's not so much like a live this way or you'll go to hell, but it's almost like if by not living this way, you're already living in hell, right?
Yes.
And I started looking at it that way, and I was like, what if this wasn't about the afterlife, but it's about the life that we're living right now? Because the concept of the Bible itself, that they're good ideas, you know what I mean?
100%.
But some of the stuff in it, I kind of look and I'm like, I don't, I don't know if maybe I believe this part of it or whatever else, but like love thy neighbor, like, yeah, like I'm down with that.
Yeah.
Like don't
Yeah.
cheat on your wife. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Don't
can
kill
get behind
anybody.
that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And but then there's the piece to it, whereas if you are doing these sins, these mortal sins in your current life, how is your life going to be? And it's going to be hellish, right? And then I think about the time in which which the Bible was written, right? And they don't write like we write. You know what I mean? How do they write? They write in symbols, dude.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And so I was always like, Jesus walked on water, right? And Avery, I'm not putting you down in any way.
no.
Please don't. But I'm like, what if he didn't physically walk on water, but the way in which he carried himself was as though he was walking on water? And to be like Jesus, you too should carry yourself as though you are walking on water.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Did he physically give his blood and body, or was it that he was so selfless that he would giveth even his blood and his body, right?
Right.
Totally.
And if you were to live that way and live righteously in that way, don't you think you would live a better life?
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
And when I started looking at the and so to wrap this back into Freemasonry, in my lodge we use the Holy Bible as our scripture of light.
Mm-hmm.
So in all of our ceremonies, and I really had a big beef with it at first, because of my difference in religious views, because I didn't want that to be my book of light,
Yes.
but it's more of the book is a symbol in itself, right? And that symbol is the higher power, right? And you have to have belief in a higher power, which I do. And the more that I really started looking through the Bible, the more I started learning, like, I don't believe with a lot of this, but there's certain things, like what I just described, that I can align myself with this,
Right.
with this book. And if I carry myself in the sense that Christians, teach they're carrying themselves, I'm like, well, all of a sudden, guys, we see eye to eye. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I think that that's really important when looking at any religion, is like, what do we have in common?
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. And that's the most enlightened way to go about it, is to see the common ground or the commonality in all of the teachings. I feel like it would be so interesting to do like a world religion study class, just like do like a night school class of all the world religions, just so you can understand what they're saying. Because I feel like a lot of the hatred is bred out of ignorance.
Yep.
It's like people have never read the Quran or have never read the Torah. I'm not saying either of them, specifically the Quran. They're not telling you very good things, but there's common ground you can find.
Right.
And you got to separate the wheat from the chaff.
Yep. Absolutely.
Man, I love that. And the Bible, I'm reading my way through the Bible slowly. I've told myself I was going to do it for a long time, and I'm finally starting to pick it up and read through it. I got like a little daily that I'm working through.
Nice.
It gives you like a little bit of Old Testament, a little bit of New Testament, and some Proverbs. And a lot of it seems like allegory. Like it's like a what did they call a fable, where there's a moral at the end of it.
Right.
Like the tortoise and the hare is like the first fable I can think of.
Yep.
And it's like there wasn't really a fucking tortoise that raced a hare and the hare stopped and took a nap, but it teaches you this lesson in that story.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's very interesting. And people throw the baby out with the bathwater because they don't want to, maybe because they have this idea about religion rather than like organized religion in church rather than just the book. And it's like, have you actually read the book? Do you know what's inside of it and what it's actually trying to say to you rather than what the priest tells you it's saying to you?
Yeah.
Are you thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I love that. This is such an enlightening conversation.
Yeah.
This is the kind of shit I live for.
Yeah, this was great. I was very pleasantly surprised to have an awesome conversation with you, Kevin. So thank you for talking to us.
Wait, you were surprised? You weren't expecting it?
Well, you never know what you're gonna get,
you never
man.
know what you're getting into.
No, I feel that.
Yeah, I knew what we were getting into. You're such a cool dude and such
Yeah.
a stand-up person in your community. And I'm sure you were that way prior to being a Mason, but I'm sure that Mason has like, you were like a raw piece of marble, and raw marble's cool, but they've chiseled out the picture that you're going to be through this, moral structure. And I
Well,
love that.
it's who I was before, but the thing I like about masonry is I'm surrounded by individuals who want the same thing I want,
Mhm.
and that it's nice to have that support and community. I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest piece of masonry.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, Kevin, I feel so enlightened now. I'm gonna have to go fucking take a nap to to download all this through my cryptic dreams. um, but yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation. I appreciate you coming on with us.
Absolutely.
Guys, I think it's awesome that you're doing this podcast, and keep it up. Congrats on your 33rd episode.
Hey, thank you.
How long has it taken you guys to do 33 episodes?
A while. Let me see. I can pull up the first episode on my RSS feed here. I want to say it was like at least a year ago.
It had to have been, yeah, because I know you and I were chatting like what, midsummer?
Yes.
No, yeah, our first episode was uploaded in March of 2023.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Almost.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're coming up on a year here pretty quick. We took a little hiatus over the holidays.
Yeah.
Just
But
dealing
shit,
with
I mean,
family shit.
33 episodes in, under a year. That's pretty good, man. You guys are hard at work at it. So
Yeah.
Been fun.
Well, and it's something that we love.
We've had
It's-
some really interesting guests on too. It's a lot of
Yes.
fun.
The guests are
Yeah.
what make it. I feel like we started out strong with what
Yeah.
we were doing, but pretty quickly we realized we're gonna have to get some guests on.
Yeah.
So
hell yeah.
to really enlighten it. And for me personally, I wanted to take this on just to learn more as a whole and better my knowledge and expand my scope of things.
Yeah.
And there's only so much you can do expanding your scope when you're just chatting with your buddy versus having other people with different perspectives. And they're not always perspectives that you agree with, but being able to have an open mind and just listen to what they have to say.
Yeah.
Well, Cameron, you better watch out, dude. You're sounding a whole lot like a Freemason over there. You're like chatting with people with other ideas. Weird. Crazy.
Uh-oh. Don't let Avery hear that. No. I'm just kidding.
No.
I love it.
Well, that's cool, dude. Well, thanks for having me on, you guys. It's been a lot of fun.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm always around if you guys ever want to chat business or anything else, all right?
Cool.
Yes. We definitely will have to do that. Maybe we'll start a business podcast.
I love it, dude.
Awesome. Well, Kevin, thank you so much, man. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us and just enlighten us a little bit about what Freemasonry is, and probably, end some stigma as well. Because I think a lot of people, ourselves included, like make up our mind about Freemasonry before you have the opportunity to even chat with a Freemason. You listen to all these YouTube videos that, that blast it, and it's, and
There's a lot of propaganda on the internet, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not on the internet. Only true things on the internet.
Only the truth on there.
Oh Lord. But yeah, this was great, man. I really appreciate it.
Yep.
And
Absolutely, guys.
yeah, we'll have to have you back on. We'll do a little part 2.
Yep.
That'll be
Yep,
great. I love it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for sticking with us to the very end. You guys are stewards of the land, listening to us ramble. And you guys know what to do. Like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, whatever, so you get the notifications when a new episode's coming out. Slap us 5 stars on there because it helps the algorithm reach other people. And write a review. Let us know what you think, unless it's mean. I don't need your mean words. I don't want to hear it. But
leave a mean one too. I'll read them.
All right, Avery will read the mean ones.
Yeah.
I love it,
guys.
You guys have
Y'all
a great
have
day.
a great weekend. All right.
Thank you so much.